This is the One Girl Revolution podcast, a podcast that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls across the country. We hope that these stories inspire you, but even more so, we hope that these stories help you to see your own value, your purpose, and your power to change the world through your life. Every woman and girl is a One Girl Revolution. Hello, and welcome back to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl, Kate, here. I am so excited for today's episode. Today's episode is an extra special one because we are celebrating the 5th anniversary of our Emmy-nominated short documentary, The Girl Inside. The Girl Inside is a project that is very close to my heart and truly one that changed my life. The Girl Inside is an Emmy-nominated short documentary by One Girl Revolution in partnership with Behold, which features a poignant look at the stories of incarcerated women within Cook County Jail and a life-changing academic course taught by Dr. Laura Biagi called Storytelling as a Healing Art. In The Girl Inside, Dr. Biagi reunites with 5 of her former students for a single transformative day, a day that reminds us how powerful our stories are, how our voices can heal, and how even in the most challenging circumstances, hope, growth, and resilience can emerge. What's remarkable about this film is that it doesn't just tell a story. It shows the ripple effect of compassion, education, and empowerment. It's a reminder that every woman has a story worth telling, every voice has power, and every life has meaning. And today, on this special anniversary episode, I'm thrilled to be joined by 2 incredible women who are featured in The Girl Inside. Dr. Laura Biagi herself, who taught this transformative course, and Miss LiLi Queen Motivational, one of the women whose journey in the documentary touched all of our hearts. Together, we share the behind-the-scenes stories that you all want to hear. We reflect on the impact of this film, the lessons learned, and the ongoing power of storytelling to change lives. Not just for women in Cook County Jail, but for every woman and girl listening today. So whether you watched the documentary when it first came out, or this is the first time you're hearing about it, I invite you to sit back, listen closely, and be inspired. Because the stories you're about to hear are about resilience, transformation, and the undeniable truth that every woman, every single woman, has the power to make a difference. So without further ado, here are my girls, Dr. Laura Biagi and Miss LiLi Queen Motivational. Dr. B and Miss LiLi, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
I'm so excited to have you both on this Zoom call. I feel like we're in the same room, and it reminds me of 5 years ago when we were filming The Girl Inside, and it's crazy to me that it's been 5 years, but I'm so grateful to both of you for making the time to give our listeners some updates. We're going to talk about The Girl Inside. We're going to share a little bit of our own experiences behind the scenes, because people always want to know that kind of stuff, right? They can watch The Girl Inside, and I know that there are so many people that their lives have been touched by this 10-minute documentary, but you both really lived it for so long. And Dr. B, you were teaching this incredible class. And so anyways, I want to get into so many different things, but I guess we'll start for people that are listening. I would love for each of you just to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about what's going on in your life. I know, Dr. B, you're back in Italy, and just sharing a little bit about your life, your work, and what's going on. But Dr. B, I'll start with you. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on the time you're hearing this and listening to this. Kate, thank you so much for hosting us, and Miss Queen Motivational. It's a wonderful, really a blessing to see you again. I mean, I really, truly appreciate you very much, and all of the participants in our class and the film and everything. Yes, I am now in Italy. I'm connecting with you from the city of Siena, which is a very beautiful, quaint city, very different than Chicago for sure. And I am currently here and sharing the experiences I've had both in the US with storytelling and theater, and bringing them together with practices that help us to attune to something greater. Some people call it spirituality, some people call it something else. But what it is for me, it's to, I work within the system of traditional yoga teachings from India. I lived in the US for a long time. In 2010, I went to India and have been in touch with India ever since. I have a teacher there who I am, really studying with all of the physical practices, emotional practices, psychology, the traditional teachings of yoga. And I find that being in Italy to be closer to my family was a good choice. And this is also giving me the opportunity to be a figure here in the community that is a bit unusual, because it's a blend of philosophy, psychology, yoga, storytelling, theater. And I'm slowly starting to get some traction. And slowly people are overcoming the fear of the unknown. Like, who is this figure? What is she doing? Because when they come, we do different things. We work with physical postures, breathing practices called pranayamas. We understand what energy is based on the laws of physics. We study anatomy, physiology, and then we go into the mind and look at the connection between the mind and the body and health overall. What does it mean? And then, of course, the advocacy of that, who has access to the health and who hasn't, and so on. So this is what I do here. So I work with groups, I work with individual humans, and then I teach online. I teach the yoga of sound, a specific branch of yoga, traditional yoga, Nad yoga. I teach it online, and then I also teach it in India with my own guru, acharya, or teacher. So that's that.
You're doing amazing work, and I love following everything that you're doing and your travels on social media. And so I will be sure to put the links to your social media and your website so people can get in touch with you. I know that people that are listening and even people that have seen the film, they're always like, "Tell me about Dr. B. What's going on? What's going on with her?" So, and I know Miss LiLi, that is that's a big part of your story, that Dr. B and her incredible class changed your life in so many ways, changed my life, filming The Girl Inside, and we'll get into that. But Miss LiLi, Queen Motivational, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners and maybe share some of the updates that you shared with me before we started recording. That'd be amazing.
Well, hello everybody. I am the infamous Miss Queen Motivational. And updates. Let's start with the updates. All of the girls except one that was in The Girl on the Inside are now home, doing very well. They all are working in some capacity. Me, myself, I am in the industry of helping the women who comes home from incarceration, because we are forgotten about, literally. And so I help with resources and job placement and housing, food, clothes, anything that may help them sustain in life. I work with this program called WIND, which is Women Initiate New Directions. That's the acronym for it. And it's been a blessing to be a part of this organization, because it's from women, for women, catered to women, supporting women. Um, and we do workshops like money management, writing for empowerment, design your future, and essential skills, things that they may have lost touch on while being incarcerated. We also do workshops like on skills sharing, like boundaries and computer skills and what's new in that realm. And it's been amazing. I've been blessed to do workshops at Grace House. I've been blessed to do workshops at Deborah's Place. I've been blessed to do workshops at St. Leonard's. It's just been amazing. And I also am in the mental health field, where I graduated twice since being home from college. I have a degree in mental health, and then I also have my degree in psychology. So I have done that. Thought that was going to be hard with the conviction on my background, but of course, everything went well. And right now, I'm just so excited because I just got my conviction overturned. Conviction was overturned. I signed my certificate of innocence, and Just this past Monday, I got my background expunged. I don't think it was for nuts. I don't think it was as a punishment. I think I had to get the lessons that was attuned for me to get. And so because I did what I had to do and I did what was done, what was expected of me, this is my blessing right now. Even though I spent 5 years, 4 months, and 18 days in jail, this is my blessing now to be somewhat totally free, but not completely free. And I'm working on that because that's why I'm fighting to give back to the ladies that are behind bars. That's why I'm being their voice. That's why I'm going to these workshops and these speaking engagements to let them know that, we have a broken system and someone needs at some point to help try to fix it because, we have too many people sitting behind bars, not just women, men as well, and their intricate parts to their families. So we need to do away with some of these policies and procedures and laws, change them and get them right. And I'm all for the challenge. I'm all for the work. I'm all boots on the ground, as they say. So that's my life right now.
Well, and thank you for sharing that, Miss LiLi. It's so incredible. Congratulations on, yeah, it's so frustrating, I'm sure, for you, and it's frustrating for me. And that's why these kind of conversations are so important. And even documentaries like The Girl Inside are so critical because women and girls are the fastest growing population in jail and prison. And I know that you're not alone. There are
Yes.
so many women and girls that end up in the system and then they can't get out sometimes, right? So you are, I feel like, working in so many different angles, helping and supporting women and girls who are getting out to lower that recidivism rate so they don't end up back in jail or prison, helping them
Yes.
get jobs. And I know your own experience, once you got out, trying to find jobs, and it was difficult because people saw that on your record, and the whole time you were like, I'm innocent, I didn't do it, and I just spent. So congratulations. I'm glad that you got justice, really, and I know that it's a continued journey.
It is. And thank you for that because it's a continued journey. But being that I realize my passion is to help those that are voiceless right now. So here I am.
Yeah. And sometimes we experience things, not to sugarcoat anything, but even on this podcast, we've told so many stories, or women have shared stories, and they've been through horrific things, but they're able to now help other people because I know that that's something that you've experienced where you can say, hey, I know what it feels like. I know what you're going through. And it's so
Right.
important for us to share our stories, which is so much a part of Dr. B and her class. Storytelling as a healing art really is surrounding that, right? How can you move beyond something that's happened to you or something that you've done if you don't know how to talk about it? And it's such a powerful medium. Storytelling is such a powerful medium. So I want to talk about The Girl Inside because that's really what brought us together. And that's why we're here today, to celebrate the 5-year anniversary of The Girl Inside coming out. We want to encourage everybody to watch it, to share it. I know that the three of us have utilized it and shared it with so many people. It's such a beautiful piece that really captured a moment in time, right? A moment in time in all of our lives, and also the power of what happens when women come together and when they find their voices. There's a powerful line in it about how I was an empty shell when I got here, and then the class. This class helped me find my voice. And I know that Dr. B, that was the power of the space that you created and the course that you created. So I want to talk about all of that. 5 years ago, we released The Girl Inside, an Emmy-nominated short documentary that tells the powerful stories of women incarcerated within Cook County Jail. This film follows Dr. Laura Biagi's life-changing course, Storytelling as a Healing Art, and reunites her with 5 of her former students for one unforgettable day, a day that revealed the power of our voices, our stories, and the resilience within every woman. The Girl Inside is a reminder that every woman and girl matters, every voice matters, and that hope can be found even in the darkest of places. I'm Kate Milligan, founder of One Girl Revolution, and I invite you to celebrate the 5th anniversary of The Girl Inside. Watch The Girl Inside now on YouTube or at onegirlrevolution.com. And please share this powerful short documentary with everyone you know to elevate this inspiring story and these incredible women's voices and their stories. To sort of start, I'd love to kind of share about how each of us found out about this project. And really it started with me cold emailing, or I think Dr. B. I had heard about Dr. B's incredible class from someone who was teaching breath work within Cook County. And 2 days prior to me hearing the story of Dr. B and her incredible class, a friend of mine, Rob from Behold, a production studio in Chicago, had said, Kate, if you ever come across a story that you feel like needs to be told on film, I love the podcast. I love what you're doing, highlighting women's stories. If you ever find a story that you feel like needs to be told on film, give me a call. And if we can make it work, we'll do a collaboration and I'll send a team. I know you don't have any funding, but we'll figure it out and just give me a call. And 2 days later, I heard about Dr. B. I literally cold emailed Dr. B. I was in Chicago. I was like, hey, can I meet with you? And Dr. B, I want you to tell your side of the story with that. But I literally cold emailed Dr. B, went and met with her in her office. You know, we talked about her class and what she was doing. And I shared kind of what I wanted to do and bringing this film crew in. And she thankfully agreed. And we didn't know how it would all kind of play out. But my friend Rob, I called him the next day and he started laughing at me. He was like, have you ever been in a jail, Kate? And I was like, no. And he was like, they're not going to just let you in, and they're not going to let you in with a film crew. But if you can figure it out, let me know. You know, like if you can figure it out, we'll send people. And sure enough, it took us 9 months to get clearance to go in, and a lot of conversations between Dr. B and I. And I know Miss LiLi, I want to hear how you found out about it. But Dr. B, I would love for you just to kind of share, if you can rewind back and remember, I know it's been a while, when you first got that call or the email, and kind of your perspective and why did you say yes?
Thank you so much, Kate. Yes, I remember very well. And I still, I'm so grateful for it. I am hugely, hugely grateful for it because it is the quality of the collaboration between the administration at DePaul, at you, Behold, Cook County Jail, and everybody. There are so many people involved. And then, of course, truly the generous participation of each one of you, Miss LiLi, you know, because it's very important that we remember that this was volunteered. Nobody was obliged to do anything on any end, you know, so I think that that's also very special. And I remember because I had to kind of like, you know, rub my eyes a couple of times because I'm often in the project so much that I don't really take time to document anything. I mean, I just, you know, that I wasn't even dreaming of because of what you said, because of coming in with, you know, metal bars that are mics and things like this, you know, I hadn't really thought about that. Batteries, that explosives, really, when you think about it. So anyway, so I looked at it and I was like, who's this woman? Who thinks she's going to make this happen? I was like, yeah, definitely. I remember I didn't hesitate at all. I mean, I remember I immediately replied or right away, you know, and something really special. And I would like to take a moment to thank the Inside Out Prison Exchange Program, because it is through that organization that I had trained. And then, you know, DePaul was able to offer a course because of the training and because they actually sponsored my training as a faculty of the Inside Out Prison Exchange Program. So I think also the fact that there is such a good program in the US that works globally, but where people are really trained, faculty are trained what not to do, first of all, what not to say, what not to ask, what not to do, and then also what is the benefit of bringing this type of work inside. So all of these forces had to come together. And I remember, you know, Kate, the blessing of the timing of everything, because 2-3 months after we finished, 4, because we did it in November, if I'm correct, or something like that. And then the following February, March, COVID. came. So we really basically were able to do it. So to finish this answer, I would say also that to this day, I always share the girl inside. I share it in India. I shared it in, wherever I go, wherever people ask me, why do we work with creativity? Why or how can we work with words and thoughts and emotions and expressions and groups and women support? Why and how? Then I just tell them, look at this first, and then we can talk. So, it's really special, very, very special. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you're exactly right. There were so many people and organizations, and it's crazy to think back all of the hoops that we had to jump through to actually make it happen. And then even on the day of, and Miss LiLi, I think you know this, but even on the day of, we didn't know who was going to show up. And we didn't even know if anybody was going to show up, if it was going to be me and Dr. B doing her class. But we just believed so deeply in the power of storytelling and the power of this class. And there were different conversations that were happening with you, Miss LiLi. And I know that you got approached and said, this is totally volunteer if you want to do it. Can you talk about that, Miss LiLi? Can you tell your side? Like how did you get asked to do it, if you remember? And why did you say yes to be a part of this project?
I was approached. We were on what we call the programs here. So any programs that came in at that point in time through the Cook County, it was always offered to us first. And so I remember my officer, her name was Officer Carlisle. She came up and she was like, you don't have to do it. It's totally voluntary, but I know that you like to do story writing. I know that you like to write. I know that you like to tell stories. And she was like, we have this program called storytelling. Would you like to go? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Get off this tier where all this mayhem is going on there. I need some peace right now. And so when they told us about the program, they just told us we was going to the chapel, but we ended up going all the way around the corner, down the hall, around another corner, into this big, beautiful space that I wouldn't have thought existed in Cook County, but it did. And just to see you two ladies, it was like, man, Dr. B just had a aura around her that says, you could trust them. Like you could trust this lady. So what's ever said in this space, you can say it freely and you don't have to be apologetic about it. And then we sing you and we like, what is this lady doing? Wait a minute, they left some cameras in here. Okay, now I gotta go fix my hair. I gotta do this, gotta do that. But coming into that space where you guys were, it felt to me at that time when going through and not knowing what the end of my journey would be, it gave me confidence. It gave me hope. And it just sparked my fight. It made me want to fight harder and be more involved. So after that first day of being in there with you all, I kept myself away from all the mayhem and all the bullcrap and all the fights and the arguments that was going on the tier. I took that moment to say, if I'm going to be a part of this and this is a film, I have to put my best self forward. So I stayed up by my cell door and I wrote. I kept writing and I just wrote. Whatever came to mind, whatever thought came to mind, I just wrote it. And it was powerful. Like I've written so many pieces that I'm going to do one on the 13th of September called The New Me. And it's just ironic that the opportunity was presented to me first. And so I went around and I asked because, of course, the officer couldn't come on a tier because we were out. I went around and did what she asked me to do, which was to see if anyone else wanted to participate. And that's when we got the other ladies involved. And it was such a beautiful collaboration. It was such a beautiful thing. It was such a beautiful dream. Everybody that sees this film, when I ask them to look at it or I reference to it, they be like, what's the girl on the inside? I say, go on YouTube and put it in and watch it, and then we could talk about it. Go on YouTube and see it, and then I'll tell you how it came to be. And one girl she just looked at me and she said, "That's my mom's whole life. That's my mom's whole life. I wish she could have done something like this to tell her story. I said, it's never too late to tell her story, even though she's passed on. It's never too late to tell her story. You can still be her voice. So be her voice. And that's how I came to be a part of the Girl Inside. And it's when I say it's truly an honor and a blessing. And I am just so grateful for being a part of that, to show people the truth. And not so much as the truth, but the real me. I didn't want to no longer hide behind the mask that I put on, because people, see me as being strong and see me as being the dependent one, to see me as being the person they can always call on when something happens. I wanted them to see the real me, that I was human and that I was a mother, and that, I was defending my family at the time, and nothing and no one could have stopped me at that point, for making sure my kids were safe. And I just wanted to be vulnerable, and you all allow me to be vulnerable. And I just appreciate that. And I thank you all so much for that, because when you're in a place like that, people just automatically assume that you are the crime that you committed, or you are the crime that you are charged of. They don't know your story. They don't know your background. They don't know your journey. But because you are in that type of place, they automatically assume that you're guilty. So you have to prove yourself innocent when you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but you got to prove yourself innocent. So
That's the power of these spaces, right, Miss LiLi and Dr. B, for creating spaces, which I know you both do now, even in the work that you're doing. But that's really what the Girl Inside was all about. Our only intention going in was to create the space for Dr. B to do her magic and do a 1-day course with you ladies, and just to create the space for your voices and your stories to be heard. And I will always remember, there's so many things that I remember about that day, but I will always remember when we got there. First, you girls jumping up and down and like yelling for Dr. B. Of course, that's ingrained in my memory. And I love that we got that, captured that on film. And then I remember us sitting in a circle, and I just started sharing about the intention of One Girl Revolution. And prior to that day, I had gotten pushback from people who were like, girl, like, why are you using girl? What about woman? Like, it should be woman, one woman revolution. And I always thought it. I was like, no, I think like there's a connecting point for women and girls by using, we all were a little girl, right? And we all have stories
mhm.
about when we were little girls, this is what we thought about. And I remember sharing that in that circle and just talking about the intention of One Girl Revolution and the intention of that day. We didn't know that it would be called the Girl Inside. We just wanted to create the space. And I remember sharing it, and that girl was the word that all of you latched onto. And it was almost like the day broke open and you started sharing stories about when I was a little girl. And then Dr. B was kind of coaching you through that, like, remember when this, and it's still to this day was transformative for me. And looking back, it's so incredible to me, because it was what I needed. It was like the kind of stamp of approval from all of you ladies saying, no, girl,
Mhm.
it's empowering to like think back to this little girl. When I was a little girl, this is what I wanted to be. And I can find her again. And I'm going to come back, and like, then you guys doing your performances. But that word girl just was so powerful to me in that day. And that's something that stuck with me. So I'd love to hear from each of you, like, what was a memory or a moment that really impacted you? And maybe Miss LiLi, I'll start with you to switch it up.
Well, I had done a class with Dr. B prior to doing the One Girl Revolution. I did the Inside Out program that she spoke of earlier. And in that space, it gave us the opportunity to share, stories and do exercise and jump around and be just that little girl that we probably didn't get a chance to be. Because in my case, I didn't get a chance to be a little girl. I was an auntie and a mama at 13, taking care of my sister kids because they had kids early on. So I didn't have much of a childhood. But being in that space in Inside Out program, and Dr. B creating that scene to where we could be anything we wanted to be. We could do what we wanted to do. We can have that dream of doing anything in life. It was spectacular to me. And then coming to see her with you, Kate, with the One Girl Revolution, I nearly lost my mind because they never told us it was you and Dr. B. And they never told us Dr. B was anywhere in the vicinity, right? So just walking in that room that day and seeing her and remembering that she gave us an outlet to become that girl on the inside, or that little girl again, with the Inside Out program, it just took me away. It just took me away. And I hadn't seen her since then. So me picking her up, spinning her around, that was just how much of an impact that Dr. B made in my life. And in the other girls' life as well, because two of the other girls that was in the Inside Out program also did the girl on the One Girl Revolution, and it was just amazing, like to see that someone actually wanted to understand and hear our stories. It was amazing. It was amazing. And that one day that I remember seeing you off into the corner, Kate, and I think it was Miss Calhoun's piece that she was doing, and I seen she go like this. I was like, wow, just to be in the space, and I'm gonna try not to cry, but to see that you were someone who didn't know either of us, and wanted to capture our story, that was just so mind blowing to me. Like, nobody ever listens to people in their side of the story. It's automatically when you're charged, you're guilty, right? And just to see a familiar face that gave me a light, a tunnel to say, go for it, right? Do it, let it out. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. That was the most glorious day for me. It was, and I think that's what made me continue to do the research and go hard so that me and my kids can come home, and to make sure that the girl on the inside is never lost. It's never forgotten about. And it made me understand that not everybody was out to get me. Not everybody was against me. And it was at that point that I needed that. That's when I really needed the breakthrough, because again, after that, COVID hit, we were shut down. We didn't know, we was pushed back for trial, all of that. And at that moment, when all that was going on, all I could think about was the One Girl Revolution, the girl on the inside, and Dr. B and Miss Kate. And I started to just talk about it. And one day we was on the COVID tier, and I asked the officer, I was like, can you pull this up and see if you could find this for me? And she found it. And she was like, I need all of you girls to just sit at the table and watch this. And so she played it on her little tablet screen. And everybody was just in awe, like looking at me like, you actually, yeah, I did. And you can do it too. And that was just such a stimulating moment for me. It was so heartfelt. It was so, the questions that came after, it was so gratifying. Um, and I couldn't do nothing but say, it was all for, if it wasn't for Dr. B and Miss Kate, this wouldn't be sitting in front of you all's face. And I remember that that was something that I vowed that day, um, as my breaking point, my release date, the day that made me say, okay, you got this. Let all that trauma go. Let all that childhood stuff go. You have to start moving forward to the woman that you need to become, to share your story, to tell your story, to let people know that they're not alone. And that came Queen Motivational. And that name was given to me by a friend that I was working with before I went in, um, because we had a plate for the kids at the daycare center that I was going to. And she was like, your name shouldn't be Lathea. I'm giving you Queen Motivational because you just motivated me to do a whole lot of stuff. And I clung to that name. So that was all the more why I presented myself to you guys as Queen Motivational, because that right there stuck to me. And man, it's been amazing ever since to be nominated. It's just amazing. The feeling would never go away for me. It would never go away.
And it shouldn't. It's amazing. Like Dr. B was saying, like you said, Miss LiLi, that we were able to film before COVID hit. It's so crazy to me, like in retrospect. And I remember even Cook County was like, you've got to get this out quickly because nobody's wearing masks. And it was like right in the thick of COVID. And so we're navigating all of that. But I didn't know, Miss LiLi, that you didn't know Dr. B was going to be there. Like I'm still getting choked up about that because it was so the joy, and that's how the girl inside starts off. And I think it's the most perfect, poignant start, because it really was the way that our day started. But I didn't know, like, that's so authentic and so beautiful and so powerful. So Dr. B, yeah, what do you have to say to that?
Oh my God, Queen Motivational. I think that moment, well, all of the film is very, very special, but that moment and at the end when we're all singing together, so the beginning and the end, bring the viewer or the person who's experiencing the film straight ahead there with us. I think this is really a magic that Behold really heads up, because also something else I would like to say is that their presence was so light. Like, I don't recall, anybody bumping into anyone or the mic being in the face of someone. Like, they were so light and yet had very heavy machinery that they were, managing. So the fact that they were able to tune into how important that was for us. And I also didn't know you didn't know. And I didn't know who was going to come, but I knew that it was your class who was going to be asked. And I was very grateful for that, because as you can remember, Miss Queen Motivational, our course really had a very good participation level. All of the students inside, because I taught for 4 years inside, with the Inside Out, but not all of the classes were like this. I mean, I have to also say that you were a special batch. And so I was happy that we were able to ask you specifically. And yeah, we didn't know who was going to come. I know that I was feeling really, I trusted you. I knew that who was going to come, whether it was 1, 2, 3, 4, was going to come because the message of the work, not even so much my message or whatever, but the message of the work, which is the message of One Girl Revolution, that we all have a voice, that we all are needing to learn how to listen, and I know that all of us here and in the film, including Behold, we all appreciate listening. We are all trained in listening, not just appreciate, and being very mindful of what's the appropriate action, not the reaction. So these teachings of yoga also that can come through storytelling, learning how to act versus react, which is a skill of theater and performance art, or learning how to move the body forward if you're wanting to say something, backward if you want to protect yourself. All of this that I thought at first as a faculty, I thought if I could only remind each woman inside and myself that through the body, connecting with the body and the breath, we do have a power to express our truth, which can work in our court case, it can work with our family, with our spouses, with people we help. If I could only get this through, and then I got here and they was like, oh, we get it, let's do it. So I was like, wow. So yeah, the exuberance of that was like, oh my God, Lastly, one thing I want to say is that it did feel like meeting old friends. That is true. Like, it felt like we were old friends that we had, had not seen each other for a while. It didn't feel, here, I'm the teacher, you're the students, we're doing the film, so okay, let's hug. It was just like, wow. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, it's
We,
definitely there.
yeah. And like on that point, all of us, right, in the world, Miss LiLi, you kind of talked about this a little bit. The world wants to put us in boxes, right? People want to say, oh, you're in Cook County Jail, guilty. Or, oh, Dr. B, you're Italian. Like, whatever. People want to I live in Detroit, right? People make assumptions about who we are as people. And what was so important to me, which is really the heart of One Girl Revolution, is just seeing people, seeing their humanity and meeting them where they're at. But what was so beautiful to me about that day, and this even goes with Behold, like that whole crew, that whole team, that we all just were in the same, we were seeing each other as human beings and like wanting to learn from one another. And I know that even Behold, like they
Yeah.
went in just totally open and they just wanted to aid Dr. B and I to really capture that day. And they really wanted to capture Miss LiLi, what you and the ladies were sharing and what Dr. B was sharing. And it's such an example to me of how the world should be and the powerful things that can happen when we don't make judgments about who we
Mhm.
think somebody is, but we instead sit and listen and ask questions. And Dr. B has such a beautiful way. And I know, Miss LiLi, you've learned so much, and I'm sure you're doing this in the work that you're doing now, where Dr. B just sort of led you along and asked you the questions that created the space for you to authentically share your voice and your story. And yeah, it's an example. It should be an example to the rest of the world of how we should treat one another. And so that's such a powerful thing to me about the whole project. At One Girl Revolution, we believe every woman and girl has the power to change the world every single day. Through the One Girl Revolution podcast, our short documentaries, and our social media content, we elevate the voices and stories of women and girls who are making history through their lives every single day. Your support helps us continue this mission to remind every woman and girl that she has value, purpose, and the power to change the world. Donate today at onegirlrevolution.com/donate. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com/donate, and help us keep elevating these voices and stories.
I think Dr. B and you are the most to give gratitude to for that. I didn't know about Behold, but Behold as well, because had not you cold email Dr. B, and Dr. B said yes, and then Behold just stood behind you 1000%. The girl on the inside would not be a story that was nominated. The story would not be told of people that are on the inside like me, like the other ladies. And I don't think it would have been a film that so many people reference to or have looked at and have gotten the message. So thank you both for that.
Dr. B?
Yes, I have a question for Miss LiLi, because it's very special, Miss LiLi, that you were able to show the film when you were inside to other women inside. And Kate, if that's possible, I would like to learn a little bit more about how was it for you inside to watch the film with other people, and how it is also to see yourself in it now with other women. What are some of the things that come up for you? And also, what are some of the reactions? Because you said, some women said, wow, this is you. But what are some of the reactions that people have, and what do they ask you that is inspired by the film?
Um, one of the most questions that I've ever had to answer was why? Why did you feel like you needed to do that? Why was it important for you to do that? What was what was the logic behind it? And my answer will always be that I'm never considered voiceless again after that movie. After that documentary, I'm never considered voiceless anymore, to where I was voiceless before. Before doing your Inside Out program, before doing the One Girl Revolution, I was simply voiceless because I wasn't called by my name. I was called by a number, 201-60814, to the door. Um, and that made me feel dehumanized being in a place like that. But seeing the reactions from the other young ladies as they watched that 10-minute documentary, and the questions they had, and how they wanted to know how their voice can be heard again, it was amazing, to the point where we got to do this program called Wind. And at this point, it was writing for empowerment. So in that, their stories was being shared because they had an opportunity to say yes or no whether their stories can be shared. And for the most part, all the ladies shared their stories. And that made me feel as though One Girl Revolution gave them back their voice. The girl on the inside gave them back their voice, because it's been taken away from them for so long that they didn't even know their voice mattered anymore. And that was something that I wanted to give them back and let them know it was doable, because I got my voice back doing the One Girl Revolution. I got my voice back doing the Inside Out program. They're no longer voiceless. And even still being inside some of those ladies that I shared that 10-minute documentary with, we always talk about it. I reached out to them, gave them my number so they can stay in contact. If they needed to talk, if they was going through a frustrating time, call me, we can talk it out. And so that's been my journey. That's been what I need. I thought I need time, but they needed much more than I did, so that they can be able to say, my voice matters. It still matters. So I got to keep speaking. I got to keep talking about it. I got to keep explaining. I got to keep telling people what it is. Because no one knows the real truth but you, God, and what happened that day, or where you were that day. Nobody knows it but those three people. And so that question always arises. Why did you do it? What made you do it? What was your logic? What you thought you was going to get out of it? It wasn't what I thought I was going to get out of it. It's what I needed to get out of me. I needed to let go of some things to be able to let my voice be heard again, to be able to say, this is me, not this person with the mask on, but this is truly who I am. And you're going to take it or leave it, right? And so those reactions from those ladies created a bond. It also created a sisterhood, to where now some have been in there 5 years and I'm still in constant contact with them. They call me every day. And I don't never not answer. Even if I'm at work at home, I try to just answer, because I don't know what is going on in there. And I don't know if what they need to say to me is important. So I have to answer, right? Like you all answered the call when Dr. B, you got cold emailed, and Kate, Dr. B told you yes, and you all brung this beautiful 10-minute documentary to life for a lot of people to see that this is what the girl on the inside is, and this is how it looks, and this is what's going on. So that's what, that's one of the things I've always took with me. When I present the girl on the inside, when I let people see this, they like, that's you. Oh my God. You ladies was experiencing this is. Yes, we were experiencing this, and this, but this is how it came out. And this how it was brought about. And this is what you see now. And it's clearly us, the girl that was on the inside. So, yeah.
That is such a great question, Dr. B. I will just say I am so grateful to both of you. I know that this is a ongoing conversation. I am always looking for opportunities to support both of you and work with you and collaborate. And so I know that this is, the Girl Inside really was just the beginning, as the three of us know. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I know as people see it, as each of us share it with different individuals, it is so powerful and so moving. And so I know that the Girl Inside story and our stories are still being written. I will be sure to put the link to the Girl Inside for people that are listening that have not watched it, which is crazy because we've talked about it for 5 years on the Girl here on One Girl Revolution. So I hope that people will take a moment to watch it, to share it, We're coming up on the 5-year anniversary, which is incredible. I'm so grateful to both of you for your yes, for your willingness to continue the conversation, continue being a part of One Girl Revolution. Miss LiLi, you're here because you reached out to me on Facebook through One Girl Revolution many years ago, multiple years ago. And I'm so grateful for that, that you reached out and that we're able to stay in touch. And I hope that the other ladies stay in touch as well. Before I let you both go, I always ask the guests who are on this podcast, who is a one girl revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that inspires you? Dr. B, I'll start with you.
You know, when I was contemplating this question, I really I had a choir of voices come. And I was trying to have a soloist, you know, I was like, there's one girl. And I was like, but and I was like, no, they were all just coming, you know. So I think, if I may, I would say that it is one voice, but it's made of many voices. Many voices, for sure. My mother, my sister, my elementary school teacher, Anna. And then as I grew older, definitely many of them were teachers. And perhaps that's why I'm a teacher also, you know, because some of them were artists. And I was thinking specifically today of this woman, Pauline Oliveros, who was up in Kingston, New York. And she was really a pioneer of experimental music. And she grew up playing the accordion, but when she became a young woman, she decided that she would play accordion in contemporary classical and experimental music. So just imagine. And she went as far as collaborating with NASA and sending her sound to the moon and playing with whatever signals were coming back from the moon. I mean, this is, and the reason why she came today, I think, because as I said, you know, there's a choir of women that sustain her in this moment, but it's because she was fearless. She was beyond fear, and that's what was really powerful to me. She was practicing Zen Buddhism, and so she was a very quiet person. She wasn't, you know, too expressive all the time. You know, she just kept very quiet, and of course, she was listening all the time. She created this form of contemplation called deep listening in music, and so on. But the capacity that she had to follow her inner voice, the voice of her creativity, of her genius, was unshakable. And it's not that she had a super easy life or, you know, a privileged life, or she worked hard to get her voice to be heard. But inside of her, there was no shaking of that trust in herself and her vision. And I think right now, she came perhaps just to remind us that there's a quality, that strength inside is very gentle. It's unshakable and very gentle. And I think for the quality of the feminine, of women, of girls, to be able to remember that we can be strong and kind, you know, that we don't have to think that this is an either or, that strength is a virtue, fortitude is a virtue, and that kindness is part of it, you know. And so, you know, I think that that's who wants to come on this podcast today, Paulini, as we called her.
What a
Thank you
beautiful
for asking.
example. Yeah. Miss LiLi, what about you? Who's a one girl revolution in your life?
I have to agree with Dr. B that there's a plethora of women voices that comes to mind, but nothing comes as strong as my daughter, Marshala. She is my one girl revolution, because she never lets me forget that she always, from the time she can talk, call me her super mom, right? But even being 23, going into a penal system that she's never been subjected to, she's very strong. She's very powerful. She does and always have been my voice of reason. She exudes that strength that says, "Mom, you can do anything, despite where we've been, despite what we've been through. You've always made a way." Even in the times that I feel like I failed my children, my daughter has been my confidant. She's been my best friend. She's been my voice of reason. She's been my sound mind. She's been everything to me, including my encourager. So her and my son, they are my one girl revolution voice, but my daughter is that powerful voice that stands in the forefront of my head that says, "Don't forget who you are. Don't forget that your voice matter, and don't forget that you are my super mom."
Mm.
And yeah, she's incredible. At 32, own apartment, everything. She has her own car. She does everything independently. And sometimes it's scary, but sometimes it's just a great video to watch just to see her grow into her own one girl revolution, one girl woman. She is, yeah, that's my one girl revolution right there. My daughter, Marshella.
I love it. Last question, and I know we're just about out of time, is if you could, thinking about our conversation, thinking about the girl inside, thinking about our lives, our experiences, I'd like to ask you if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be? And Dr. B, I'll start with you.
This is such an incredible question. I would say that hold hands and walk forward together, or sit together, or speak together, or listen to each other. I think this capacity that we have, every human being has, of course, but girls have to help each other, to be there for each other, and to be truly honest with each other, and be able to move apart when the relationship with another girl doesn't, go the way that you feel is good for your spirit and for your health and so on. Sure. And at the same time, value each other, treasure each other. Don't run away as soon as you see the other person's flaws. And because I think social media is really great, it's a great tool. At the same time, I see that there's so much isolation. You can be in the middle of the crowd and everybody's looking at their social media feed, and that can create quite a bit of psychological barrier to connect with another human being. And I think for girls especially,
Yes.
for women in general, and for humans in general, we really need to stop one moment, take a deep breath, look around, and just overcome the fear of holding each other's hands and go forward together, or go inwards together, wherever we want to go. And I think that because this is something that is very important to me. It's important to me as a person, as a daughter, as a sister, as an auntie, but also as a teacher, as a student. I cannot do things alone. It looks like I'm doing them by myself, but it's not true. And so to be able to know that you can stretch out both hands and be like, okay, let's go, so cultivate that strength as soon as you can, and yeah, share with others also. That would be, as of today, what I would like to share. Yeah.
Powerful things happen when women and girls stand together, and just what we shared about the girl inside, like
Absolutely.
seeing each other as human beings and as sisters and walking alongside one another. That is so beautiful and powerful, Dr. B. Miss LiLi Queen Motivational, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would that be?
The message would be for them to never allow someone's opinion of them to become their reality. You have to encourage, motivate yourself first, but also motivate and encourage your sisters and your nieces and your cousins, all the women that are around you. Make sure that they know that they're not alone and that they can depend on you in some capacity. But most of all, stand together, unite together, because there's unity. When there's unity, there's power. When there's power, there is nothing you cannot do. You are unstoppable. So utilize that women can stand together despite our different backgrounds and ethnicities and colors and cultures. We can stand together, unified together as one whole, and we can walk forward together hand in hand.
I love it. So powerful. I'm so grateful, Dr. B, Miss LiLi Queen Motivational. Thank you for being a part of the Girl Inside. Thank you for being on the podcast to celebrate our 5 years. And thank you for all that you are and all that you do. I am so grateful to know you, but thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invite, Kate.
For more from One Girl Revolution, to listen to all of our podcast episodes, watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series, follow us on social media, donate to our nonprofit organization, and more, please visit onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.